Hello, Algebra students. These two examples might not look the same, but you can use the same skill to deal with both of them. So let's take a look. First one, is -3 a solution to x squared plus 2x plus 5 equals -10? Now, to be honest, there's a real reason I'm doing this example with you, and that is I have not taught you to solve this kind of equation yet. X squared plus 2x plus 5, where I have both an x squared term and an x term, is called a quadratic equation, and it takes more methods than we've learned in order to solve it. Now, if you're at the beginning level, we haven't done this skill, this unit. However, even if you don't know how to solve this, you still know how to test solutions. So you can do that using your answers from the multiple choice. Just plug them in and see what happens. So if I ask you if -3 is a solution to x squared plus 2x plus 5 equals -10, I'm asking you, if I put this thing in for x, will it make this statement true? So I can just substitute in -3 for x and see if this left-hand side really does give me -10. Now, that being said, I need you to be super duper careful and remember the most important thing about substitution, the thing that students forget, and so the GED knows you forget it, always puts this style of problem in here, tries to trick you, and that is when plugging negative values, so -3 is a negative number, a negative value, into exponential expressions. I just mean exponents, guys. You must, I can't even say must enough times, use parentheses around the negative numbers. Okay, so why am I bringing that up? Well, look, you have an x squared here, and you need to plug in a negative number. And if you do the common mistake that most students make here, and you put in the negative number without the parentheses, and then you square it, you will actually get a wrong answer to this. It doesn't always happen that you get a wrong answer, but this is one of those cases where you absolutely will. So super duper important that you remember when you are plugging in here to these exponential expressions, the exponents, with that negative, you use the parentheses around the negative number. So here's how I'm actually going to write it. I'm going to put the -3 in parentheses, and then I'll put the square on the outside of the parentheses. And then I'll just keep copying my expression, plus 2, and that 2 is shoved up next to an x. And yes, every time you see x, you'll use the same number, okay? So if there's two numbers to test in your solution, sometimes that happens too. With quadratics, you can have two answers. Make sure you test them one at a time. So I'm doing -3 for every x. And then I'm going to add 5. And what I want to see is if I simplify that whole thing, does it really come to -10? I don't know. Let's see. And feel free to type this whole entire thing into your calculator, okay? You don't have to simplify it by hand. But since I don't have my calculator, it looks like I'm going to have to. -3 squared is the same as -3 times -3, so that's +9. +2 times -3 is -6. Plus 5. Okay, so 9 minus 6 is 3, and 3 plus 5 is not -10, it's 8. So is the left-hand side equal to -10? No, it's not. So is -3 a solution? No. And I know my tricky self, I probably made it so that if you forget to use these parentheses, then you will get -10 as a solution. All right, next one. What is the value of, and again, don't be intimidated by the fraction here, you guys, but the quantity of 50a minus 200 over a when a equals 100? Again, if you had a problem like this, it'd be on the calculator section. So main thing that you need to be able to do is substitute into this expression. So I think I'll start by writing it out over here, because fractions are the one time I let you guys break my rule of going underneath. And that's only because you guys make less errors when you go across. So let's do the top here. I want to plug into 50a, so I'm going to have 50. Now a is going to be 100. It's not a mystery anymore. So when I see that a, I'm going to plug in 100. Notice I use parentheses because the a is shoved up against the 50. It's multiplying. So there's my 50, there's my a. It's going to be minus 200. And the whole thing is going to be over a again. Every time you see a, you're going to plug in that same number, which was what? A was 100. 100. And now you can type this entire thing into your calculator. If you press the N over D button first, it'll let you just type the entire thing, 50, you open up parentheses, 100, all that. But once again, Kate doesn't have her calculator. So I'm going to simplify by hand, doing the grouping on the top first. So 50 times 100 is going to be a 5 with 1, 2, 3 zeros on its butt, minus 200 over 100. And then 5,000 minus 200 is 4,800 divided by 100. I get a final answer of 48. And again, don't worry about the simplifying by hand. If I just freaked you out, you can type that whole thing into your calculator. So first one is a no, and second one is 48. And I will just also remind you that your calculator can do substitution using the store button. So you could have done this even more simply using the calculator. So if you haven't seen our videos on that, I suggest you go check them out because it's really, really nice. You can literally plug these numbers into your calculator, and then you don't even have to know how to do this substitution step by hand. It will do it for you. However, I like you to know how to do substitution by hand because I know every single one of you is capable of going on to college if you want to, and that's an absolutely crucial ABC basic algebra skill you're supposed to know how to do without a calculator. So, Mama Kate wants you to know how to do it both ways. All right, you guys, strong work. Super proud of you. Happy learning.